Who started the Hells Angels and when?
Well, there's a discrepancy on the time. They say 1948. I know that March 17th was pulled out of kind of thin air. I talked to Sonny Barger about that before. The March 17th date was pulled out of thin air. There's a group of people that say it started in 1948 from returning veterans from the Pacific and the European theater. And then there's another gentleman named Dick White who says it didn't start till the early 50s. Now, there was a club called the Pissed Off Bastards from Bloomingdale, and that club fractured, and they became the Hells Angels. And it's kind of interesting if you watch the movie The Wild One. That's the premise of that movie. That club splinters. Marlon Brando's got his followers. Lee Marvin has his followers. So I don't know if Hollywood knew the inside story. It's very possible because Sal Mineo was nosing around down in San Bernardino. He wanted to make a Hells Angel movie. It never came about. I don't know if you know much about Sal Mineo.
I do.
Yeah, and he was murdered, and I don't think it was ever solved, to be honest with you. But he had a real interest to make a motorcycle movie. And he seemed like a pretty talented guy. He was in Rebel Without a Cause with James Dean. I mean, that was a hell of a movie.
Yes, sir.
So I think that Hollywood has been influenced by the Hells Angels for years. And I also think the media has jumped on that bandwagon. We've sold a lot of newspapers over the years, magazine articles and whatnot. Roger Corman, he's a personal friend of mine. He was king of the B movies. He gave Jack Nicholson his start, Martin Scorsese, Francis Ford Coppola. He started the movie with the Wild Angels with Peter Fonda and Nancy Sinatra. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but it's called The Wild Angels, and Bruce Dern is in it. And Bruce Dern plays this oil worker named Blues. No, that's Peter Fonda's character. Can't remember. Loser, I think, is Bruce Dern's handle in the movie. But it's interesting to watch that movie. And, it's the dialogue's it's so cheesy, it's good. It's one of those kind of deals. But it's worth a look, But Roger Corman
I'll definitely check it out.
Made that movie in the 60s, and a lot of Hells Angels worked on that movie. And then Roger made another movie in the 90s. It was the early 80s, mid 80s, called Nom Angels. And what Roger had failed to realize is that by then, we had incorporated our name and logo. The Hells Angels name and logo was owned by the club, and we had trademark rights over it. And Roger had made this movie, used our logo in it. And so I was given since I knew him, I was given the job to go sue him. So I went down to Concord Pictures in Santa Monica. That was his place. And, we had a friendly conversation, and he was, telling me, "Well, sue me, George." I said, "I'm going to sue you, Roger." And we were joking with each other how times had changed because we made that Wild Angels movie for like a couple of cases of beer, But we went to federal court. The court ruled that he had infringed, and we did an out-of-court settlement. And he gave us a large sum of money, and I actually got to edit the movie. I got to edit all the Hells Angel indicia that was shown in the movie out of the movie. And so it was a wild time. So that's kind of my story with Hollywood. Over the years, I've become friends with a lot of, major actors and whatnot. And Tony Scott was very seriously thinking about making a Hells Angel movie based on Sonny Barger's life. And I don't know if you know the story on Tony Scott. He committed suicide. I don't know what happened. Are you familiar with Tony Scott? He's Ridley Scott's brother. If you saw American Gangster.
I'm familiar with Ridley, but I'm not familiar with Tony Scott's
Tony, you should check up on Tony. Check out his movies. He's got a movie with Denzel Washington. I can't think of the name of it. Denzel Washington plays this burned out CIA agent. and what is it?
Man on Fire.
Man on Fire.
Oh yeah, Man on Fire is excellent.
Worth seeing, and that movie's a remake. It was originally, I think, an Italian movie, and I'm trying to think the star of that movie. The star of that movie was also originally supposed to star in Sons of Anarchy, and they actually shot the pilot with the other actor, and something happened. They had some sort of contractual problem. They had to reshoot the pilot with the new actor, and I can't. His name escapes me, but prominent actor, been in a lot of stuff. He was in Training Day. He was the dirty cop in Training Day that Denzel Washington shot with a shotgun. Can't think of his name.
Oh,
you know who I mean?
Yeah, that's yeah, I know exactly
You know who I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was supposed to be the original leader in Sons of Anarchy, and I don't know what happened. Something happened, and they had to reshoot the pilot with another actor. And so the Hells Angels have had a long history and romance with Hollywood. Also with musicians, a lot of music. We've been friends with a lot of musicians, music people. Waylon, Willie, Johnny Cash, Grateful Dead.
You met Jerry Garcia.
I know Jerry. I do Jerry well. I used to pick him up at the airport when he'd fly in to Los Angeles to do concerts. Rock Scully, who was the manager of the Dead at the time, him and I were good friends, and Jerry and I became good friends over the years. Jerry is a real cool guy. You would have loved him, man.
I know it. I love him, and I never met him.
Oh, you know what, man? He's a guy you can sit down, and there was no, I'm a star, none of that crap, man. He was just a down-home, good old boy, and, he would talk politics with you. He'd talk psychedelics with you. Anything you wanted to talk, Jerry was there to do it with you. A real nice guy.
That's dope.